All right, so first off, the opportunity to walk out to Mr. Roboto by Styx is every nerd's dream. So I'm gonna just relish that for at least the next year or so. So thank you for being part of that journey with me. So we're gonna start off with maybe a little bit of story time. So it was about a year ago that I found myself embroiled in a heated argument with a generative AI chatbot. Now, if that sounds ridiculous, and judging by your laughter, you found it ridiculous, which is a good thing, it should be ridiculous. So if it sounds ridiculous, just imagine for a second how it felt. I can tell you how it felt, it was horrible. I was insanely frustrated. So I've been working on this project for several hours, and this tool, perfect choice of words in this particular instance, kept giving me the wrong answer repeatedly, and I knew it was the wrong answer. And not only was it giving me the wrong answer, it was doing so with the level of confidence and enthusiasm that, frankly, I found somewhat off-putting. So then I had to think to myself, what had gone wrong? What was happening? Is there something I can learn from this experience? And after much self-reflection, well, a little bit of self-reflection, I realized what was happening. So in this instance, that generative AI chatbot was essentially acting as a mirror and was showing me how I was communicating to it. And in this particular instance, big surprise, I had a lot of room for improvement. So this fundamentally changed the way I think about or view AI. It's not about the perfect tool, right? It's about becoming a better version of ourselves through its use. So today, I want to talk to you about how AI isn't replacing us, it's revealing us. And if you think about that for a second, in a world where we all have access to essentially the same technology, right, that might be the most powerful differentiator of all. So as the quote on this slide says, in the age of AI, differentiation won't come from having the best tech. It comes from preserving and amplifying with AI the authentic human domain expertise that makes your company unique. So imagine this. AI is like a supercharged blender, right? So it can mix up some amazing smoothies, but without the right ingredients, that's us, right? It's just another kitchen appliance. So we need to throw in our own unique flavors, right? Our expertise, our creativity, and that special something that makes us, right? So I'll give you another way to think about it. Think of AI as your trusty sidekick. Now follow me on this journey here, it's gonna get a little weird. So now it's a trusty sidekick, and we're gonna do a Batman and Robin type scenario. But instead of solving crime, we're gonna tackle business problems, right? And so Batman, in this instance, that's us. So we know what the goal is. We have the experience. We have the creativity. And Robin, our sidekick, that's our buddy AI. Right? It's going along with us. It's going to help us out. It's going to answer some questions. And every once in a while, maybe it'll crack a joke or two, right? So while AI can crunch numbers faster than you can say algorithm, it cannot replace the human touch. Right, so again, it's our domain expertise, our quirky ideas, right? That creativity, that weird stuff that we as humans do, right? It's that in combination with AI that really is where the magic happens. So let's try demystifying things a little bit. So when we say AI, we're often talking about a whole range of tools and technologies. So some of them are deterministic. Think of an underwriting rules-based system. They do exactly what you tell them to do every single time. Others, like generative AI, are probabilistic. They look at patterns, likelihoods, and then generate an answer that's gonna vary depending on context. So what is AI? Many times when you're engaging in conversations, that word gets bandied about all the time, right? And most of the time when people say AI today, what they're referring to is generative AI. That's the topic that's in the news all the time, right? That's the Claudes, that's the Geminis, that's the Chat GPTs, that's the Perplexities, that's the U.coms. I mean, I can go on and on. There's a lot of them. But they've only been around for a few years. The reality is AI's been around for decades, right? So those quote bind issue underwriting systems, right? Whether on the retail side or on the personal side, those have been around for years. So it's not new. Generative AI is a little bit newer. So when you think of automation AI, those are those rules-based systems. Think of those almost like a coffee machine. You press a button, you know exactly what's gonna happen. Generative AI is more like a jazz musician. So I'm gonna give it a chord progression, I'm gonna give it a theme, I'm gonna have a general idea of the direction it's gonna go, but I'm never gonna know exactly what riff I'm gonna get. The next one is something called agent or agentic AI. I heard a little bit of conversation about that earlier today. So that's like generative AI on steroids. That's like the true personal assistant that can not only read your email, it can get rid of the email that you don't want to see, it can respond to email, it can even resolve some problems that come up through those email interactions. It's that true personal assistant. Many people in the AI world, the AI influencers, if you will, believe that 2025 is the year of agent or agentic AI. So you're constantly seeing new tools, right, all the time trying to push into that space. The next one, which isn't here yet, and opinions are mixed on when and or if it will arrive, is something called AGI, or artificial general intelligence. That's the point at which these tools are as smart or smarter than you and I. That's when they can do anything that you and I can do that doesn't require physical interaction. So artificial general intelligence, that's the scary part, right? So now everybody take a deep breath. All right. So now what does that mean for all of us in this room? All right, for those of us that live in a world of risk assessment, precision, and documentation. The probabilistic nature of those tools can feel incredibly uncomfortable. Why? Because it's not natural. The human brain desires templates. The human brain desires patterns. This probabilistic tool doesn't work that way. It feels weird. But there's a flip side to all this weirdness, right? It opens up new possibilities for creativity, for insight, and support in areas where fixed rules just don't cut it. The big takeaway here is this. So understanding AI isn't about becoming a data scientist. It's about understanding how these tools think. So you know when to trust them, when to double check them, right, and how to use them strategically. And that brings me to probably the most challenging portion of my presentation. But I'm going to now introduce you to my thought partner and my co-presenter, right? This is gonna be ChatGPT, so fingers crossed, we're gonna see how this goes. We're all on a journey together. This is where that probabilistic nature gets really, really exciting. Hey Eve, this is Jay. I'm at the ReSource Pro convention in St. Petersburg, Florida. I am currently presenting to a rather large crowd. I've just gone through the first 3 slides in the presentation. You're always giving me a hard time saying I don't do a good job letting people know what the main takeaways are from the first 3 slides. So Eve, can you please introduce yourself and tell the audience what are the main takeaways that they should take from the first 3 slides in the presentation?
Hey everyone, it's great to be here. Let's recap those key takeaways from Jay's first 3 slides. First, AI is transforming our industry. Second, AI literacy is crucial for staying competitive. And third, using AI with intention drives better results. Enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Eve, thank you very much for not abandoning me in my time of need. Is there anything else that you would care to say to the audience before we let you go?
My pleasure, Jay. Just remember, embracing AI is a journey. Stay curious and open-minded, everyone. Enjoy the rest of Jay's presentation.
Outstanding. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm incredibly relieved to know that that actually worked out okay. So when we use technology, it tends to reflect our intention. So what do I mean by that? So when I go in to utilize these tools, if I'm going in saying, hey, I need to get there faster, guess what? I'm likely gonna get speed. However, if I go in my use case to utilize these tools is I'm using them to get to better outcomes than I would have been able to get to previously, that could change everything. We don't need to chase every AI tool out there, right? But we do need to get intentional with how we use the ones that we use. Because it's not just about saving time, it's about creating value, right? We're not automating for the sake of it. We're augmenting our thinking, and that's a huge mindset shift. So think of AI like a pencil. If I were to hand this pencil off to someone with no artistic talent, no creative vision, the best I may hope for is a stick figure with maybe a bad hair day, right? Whereas if I hand that pencil off to someone who's got some artistic talent, that has vision, they can create a stunning work of art. And the difference between those two is the potential that we're talking about. When I first started utilizing these tools, like many of you, I'm sure, I essentially thought of them as, a souped up version of Google, right? Everything I was using it for the use case was speed. I'm like, hey, help me summarize this article. Help me figure out how to do this. Make me sound smarter. Redraft this email because I don't want to spend time actually reading it and knowing what the heck I'm supposed to be doing with it. So everything was those short use cases, quick hits in and out. But at one point in time, something shifted, and I still remember what it was. I was given an assignment. Right? I was given 3 weeks to do it. Right? You need to look at the macroeconomic trends and identify some headwinds and tailwinds that could impact our ability to achieve plan. I'm sure a bunch of people in this room have probably had similar assignments. I was given 3 weeks to complete this. So normally I have like a week where I'm going to do some research, a week where I'm framing everything out, and then a week where I'm going to just kind of go through and make all my final tweaks. In this case, I decided, I was early on in my AI journey. I'm going to use these tools. I'm going to figure out, and we'll see what happens. I had a working draft in 90 minutes. 90 minutes I had a working draft, right? 16 pages long, 35 different sources already cited, working draft. Now, I could have handed that in. My only goal was speed, but the reality was it was like a C-level effort. So if I was satisfied with that, I could have handed it in, but that's not what I did. I said, I'm going to continue to use some different tools and figure out how to make this better using the tools. And so I went down this path. I put it in every AI tool that I could get my hands on, and then I compared them to each other, put it in another tool, said which response is the best. I obsessed over it, spent probably about a week and a half, and finally got to the point where I had an output that was levels better than I would have been able to create without these tools. So this didn't just save me time, it helped me to think deeper. I still had to go back in and fact check. I still had to go back in and rework some stuff, rebuild some things, but the starting line had moved dramatically. What used to take a few weeks of fragmented effort now had momentum from the jump. So, and here's the key. The real upskilling didn't come from the utilization of all the different tools. The real upskilling came from thinking about how to utilize those tools differently. That mindset shift, that's where the magic is. So no, AI didn't do my job for me, right? But it did make me better at doing it. And that's why I'm standing here today. Not just to tell you that AI is useful, but to show you that when you engage with it as a thought partner, it can help you learn faster, think deeper, and act smarter. Here's one question for everyone in the room. Are you following the trend or are you leading the charge? We've hit a tipping point in that organizations that don't adapt are going to get left behind. It's not a question of maybe, it's already happening. But leading doesn't mean becoming a prompt engineer or writing code. It means asking the right questions. It means saying, how can we use this in our workflow? Right? How might this free us up to focus on what matters more? That's leadership in the age of AI. Curiosity, courage, clarity. Think of one task that you hate doing. Now imagine you can have an assistant that can take away 80% of that task. What would that free you up to do? That's the potential we're talking about. This isn't about being perfect. This is about being your best, right? About leaning in. I would encourage everyone here to start small, pick a process, explore a tool. Try a prompt, make a mess, learn, then lead. Your move. There we go.